Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a bright and sunny and cold Monday morning from Shop Studios. Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, A5, Anthony behind the glass. I'm uppity. I don't know how. Cowboys dropped a silly one. I can get more into that and my other ventures and shows and stuff like that, but we will get into one of those guys this morning. But crazy NFL Sunday and Saturday. I mean, the Vikings, history was made on Saturday. I know you're a Packers guy, so you hate to see stuff like that.
I don't mind that. I don't mind seeing it. I think they were gifted that game in many ways down the stretch.
I mean, the Colts in the last two games have been outscored like 70 to something in the fourth, like the second half alone.
Yeah, the Colts stink. I'm more talking about the refs, but that's neither here nor there. It was an amazing performance. Justin Jefferson lit it up.
He's unbelievable.
Another 11 catches.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Playoff scenarios, Monday morning as you wake up, the NFC have 4 teams in. The Eagles obviously are in. They win again. They beat the brakes off the Bears, generally speaking. I would say, like, if you look at the stat sheet, the Bears kept it a game, but it just wasn't a game. The 49ers are in. You have to wonder how long or how far Brock Purdy can go. The Vikings are in with that crazy win. I think they won the North with that win, right? So they won the NFC North. And the Dallas Cowboys are in based off of, not so much their own doing. The Giants took down the Commanders last night in honorable fashion. No penalties called. It was perfect. The Giants beat the Washington Commanders, getting the Cowboys in the AFC. Just the Bills and Chiefs right now, going into the final 3 weeks of the season. Just the Bills and the Chiefs have locked their spot in the AFC. The Raiders ending. I mean, has anybody ever seen anything like that? Like, that was...
Like, I'm
you
sure
have a brain fart. You're trying to win the game, but
I think I've seen something like that on the internet, but I've never seen anything like that in the NFL. You've seen games end in crazy fashion,
right.
Even playoff games end in crazy fashion.
Right.
Music City Miracle. There's been games, but man, oh man, I don't think Bill Belichick drew it up like that. I'm actually positive Bill Belichick.
Jacoby Myers with a little bit of a brain fart there. Like I said,
was it his? I mean, yes, but I don't think.
To be fair, maybe he thought they were losing. I don't know. Like,
to be fair, I don't think that it was the play call for Ramondre Stevenson to hand the ball.
So you think Rams at fault? We'll talk about Ram in a little bit, but he has himself an historic day and then starts the worst play in NFL history.
They handed the ball off up the middle. He managed to bust it a little bit and thought maybe, hey, I could do something here. I think it was.
He did.
Like they were running the clock out there.
He did do something. He did a whole lot of something.
Stevenson took it upon himself to put Myers in a very bad situation and then found Mac Jones in a way worse situation.
Bro, Mac Jones saw that ball coming, right? Can you imagine being Mac Jones in that moment? You're like, go, Ram. Oh, we pitch it back to Jacoby. All right, well, Jacoby, make a play.
The thing is, here's why it was such a bad.
The ball coming,
it was
like,
obviously a bad play
God.
because the game was tied, right? It's another bad play because their season isn't over. So, you got
they're on the outside looking in now.
I can understand playing that way when the season's over and it's like, you know what, let's try and play spoiler here. The Raiders are also trying to play spoiler here. And the Patriots they dropped the ball because Mac Jones was 10 yards in the backfield. It's not like he could have pitched it to somebody else.
Yeah.
He had to get in front. No, that
Brutal.
was not possible.
Imagine being a Raiders fan, though. 3 out of, what do they got, 6 wins? 3 out of 50% of your wins this year come on a cardiac arrest. Like, it came, like, a walk-off fashion.
To be fair, how many losses did they have? 8?
A lot.
8?
Yeah.
So probably 5 of their 8 losses came on the final drive where they had a 2-touchdown lead.
So are the Raiders, like, right there? Like, are they all of a sudden a team to maybe consider next year?
Not at all. Because until they start playing better defense,
yeah, that's true.
They're not going to be right there.
All right. Let's start some top movers from week number 15, and it starts with the magician known as Trevor Lawrence, 27 of 42 for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 fumble lost. The only thing I'll say is this. Him and Zay Jones, they just dismantled what I thought was a top Cowboys defense, but I did say this on Friday. I said if there's anything that they can do, it could be expose the fact that we're down a corner, and then they were down another corner, and then down a linebacker. The credit to Doug Peterson, who made all the adjustments he had to make for them to play offensively good. Like, you don't see the Cowboys letting up 40 points a week. You don't see that. And I know the last one was a pick 6, but like even this, like 34 points on defense. You don't see that a lot out of this, elite defense that I keep trying to harp on. And I'm like, that's why we're here. Like the Jaguars played well. Trevor Lawrence played better. Trevor Lawrence is shaping in to be the guy that everybody thought he'd be.
Yeah, there was a conversation we were having about a month ago where everybody was saying that Justin Fields is now the QB1 of that draft class. When I tell you it is not even close, that Trevor Lawrence is far and away head and shoulders above every other quarterback in that class.
And hair.
And hair.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll talk a little bit about Zach Wilson later. Justin Fields did have that amazing run, so he does keep himself in the conversation.
Sure, because that's what he could do good.
The highlight reel. But I don't know if Justin Fields has 11 touchdowns in his career yet, and Trevor Lawrence has, in his last 4 games, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, right? He's absolutely becoming a star at this point. There's no debate about that.
And you got to, yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, credit the moxie, too. Like, he fumbled, lost the fumble. 9 times out of 10, the team puts that game away. It's over.
And what we're seeing really is Trevor Lawrence becoming he's blossoming under Doug Peterson. You got to tip your hat there.
And this goes to show you how bad and abysmal Urban Meyer was, to be honest with you.
Looking at it right now, he's averaging about $5.15 per season. This is through a decent amount of time now. It's not like he didn't. There's
sample size,
a small sample size, but it's starting to get there. Sitting at like $68 a share price, like right below Derek Carr. I mean, I feel like he's going to play 10, 15 more years unless he pulls some type of Andrew Luck situation. Trevor Lawrence is a buy, like big time buy. Get ahead of it before the rest of the market does, because a month ago people were saying, like, is he a bust? Well, he's not a bust. I think that's
we were saying it because of his moxie and his like leadership, right? And then all of a sudden the Jaguars positioned themselves a game out of the AFC South all of a sudden because the Titans just can't get out of their own way.
When you start stringing together 300-yard games and you haven't thrown a pick, or you have 1 pick in over 2 months of football, that's the guy.
He's putting it on him, and credit to, like I said, Zay Jones in the conversation.
Throwing the ball too. It's not like he's not throwing.
There's a lot of air yards. There's a lot of air yards. Yeah. So Trevor Lawrence is an absolute buy. There is a 5-time multiplier available on Trevor. So if you want to get in on that, get in on that.
It's actually crazy. I'm surprised it's that high.
Well, it seems to me like I don't understand. Like I do understand the fact of like the veterans get the big ones, the middle of the pack get the 5s, and the rookies get the 2 and the 3s. This guy's he's been around long enough to get himself and warrant himself a 5-time multiplier. So if you, like I said, Trevor Lawrence is playing really good football. He dismantled the Cowboys secondary in every way you can do it. And I'm here to say that I'm still alive. So that works out well. Moving on to another losing effort, or the first losing effort as far as this is concerned. Tyler Algier had himself a night. 17 rushes for 139 yards, 1 touchdown. The bigger question I have for you is this. We watched Desmond Ridder play, he just game managed the heck out of this game. There was nothing that jumped off that says like, ooh, this guy's just shiny toy. But I will ask you this. Cordarrelle Patterson was moved from receiver to running back because the Falcons just didn't have a running back solve. Have you seen that enough out of Tyler in 2022 to warrant him at least a potential conversation to be RB1 in Atlanta going forward? Because that's a big deal when it comes to investing in these players.
So I don't know if he's going to be RB1, but I could at least see him in like an A.J. Dillon where it's like an RB1A.
Okay.
I don't know that Cordarrelle Patterson
is good comparison. I like that.
Just going to lose the job outright because they signed him to a bigger deal previous to this season. So I don't think that there's an out after this year. I think they have at least, he probably did a nice job, at least got himself 2 years off the season he just had last year. Are you pulling up?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the contract. I'm just curious.
Or his contract. Yeah. But whether or not we see Cordarrelle Patterson back in Atlanta or not, I think Tyler Algier is firmly entrenched as one of the guys there. 10 games this season. 10, right? We didn't expect him to really be a guy going into the year. We expected some goal line work and maybe a couple of carries here or there. He's got 10 games this season where he's got 10 or more carries. He's got 10-plus carries in his last 3 straight. And yesterday, he had his season high with 16 carries and 17 carries, and Cordarrelle Patterson played.
Right.
So he out-carried Cordarrelle Patterson by 3. I don't know that that's going to be a trend going forward, but you could see almost maybe an even split. I'm talking about next year.
Next year, okay.
Even into next year.
Yeah, just to clear it up, Cordarrelle Patterson does have 1 more year guaranteed on his contract, and then the rest is void. So he's looking at free agency in 2024. So at least for the next year, you'll see Tyler and Cordarrelle in the backfield.
What we have seen out of Arthur Smith up to this point is that he is willing to run the football. And as far as Desmond Ridder goes, it's a good sign to see that Tyler Algier had his best game with his most carries in Desmond Ridder's first start, which is potentially going to be the guy that he's going to be running the football behind.
Grow together.
For the very foreseeable future. Yeah. Desmond Ridder, I thought he played well. I don't think he played exceptional.
No, he didn't play bad.
For a rookie quarterback,
fine.
Entering, on the road in a fairly hostile environment, I feel like Desmond Ridder, he did enough to show me that he deserves to get another opportunity. We'll say that.
I wholeheartedly agree. Just because I'm curious. Desmond Ritter's stat line, 13 for 26, so 50% there. Just 97 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He did run 6 times for 38 yards, so like showing a little bit of the athleticism.
I will say,
and they lost the game, so it's just like, I don't know. I'm looking at this game like, I don't know.
Algier, though, 7 yards per carry around over the last 4. And he's got like 5 or 6 games where he's at or around 8 yards per carry in that game.
He's a bowling ball. He gets through. All right. It's a very interesting play here where the next top mover, and that's Jerick McKinnon. Now, first of all, the Chiefs struggled with the Texans. So for everybody getting on my case about the Cowboys struggling with the Texans, the Chiefs did too. In fact, they went to overtime. But it's a big thing to note that Jerick McKinnon yesterday. Now, I've been banging on the desk for Pacheco, right? And I'm like, this guy's going to be the bell cow. He's going to be the guy with the carries. And while he does get his volume, and he did, he got plenty of carries yesterday. But the big stat that I have is the fact that this guy, this is basically in the market alone, McKinnon's got a 10-time multiplier on him, right? So McKinnon gets outrushed 15-10. We know Pacheco's going to get the yards. 10 rushes for 52 yards and a touchdown. 8 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. McKinnon all of a sudden has become the Swiss Army knife guy in a Chiefs offense where you need somebody like that. Have the Chiefs found themselves a Debo in Jerick McKinnon? McKinnon's been around the block, man. He's been around. He's been seeing a lot of teams. Can McKinnon develop to be what they hoped, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be? You know what I'm saying? Because Pacheco seems to be the in-between the tackle little guy.
So Clyde Edwards-Helaire was never going to be the guy that was catching the ball out of the backfield. He was supposed to be their first and second down back, and they always had the plans on using a third down back. At least that's the way I saw things over there, especially with McKinnon on the roster. I think what McKinnon is, to say he's like a Debo, I think that would be unfair to Debo. Debo's a superstar. Jerick McKinnon is more like a Darren Sproles type.
As far as the position goes.
More like a Darren Sproles type
I like
than
that.
a Debo.
Okay,
I feel like
sense.
you can put him in several spots, but you can't line him up on the outside the way you can with Debo.
Truth.
Jerick McKinnon is a slot guy at best, and he's a guy out of the backfield who will give you a handful of carries and change the pace up really nice. And look, the targets is what we're talking about here, right? He got 8 targets or more in 4 of his last 7. And he gets, like I said, a handful of carries per game with a chance to punch it in down low because Andy Reid is very, very
he busted
creative.
One yesterday for the win.
Very creative with the way he... Well, there you go. It was probably still a red zone carry, though.
26 yards.
26
yards.
So
right outside the red zone.
Right outside the red zone. You know why I thought it was a red zone carry? Because in the 4 o'clock games, everything is on red zone. So you're thinking...
Do you remember there was a time where the red zone actually had a state that this team's in the red zone, we're going to go to this game. This team's in the red. Now it's just like, we're just going around the league. That's gone. That ship has sailed.
I think they do automatically put the games
no
in
fault.
The red zone.
Thank you.
Red zone is elite.
Red zone is great.
Talk about it. But Jerick McKinnon is also becoming elite. Jerick McKinnon in the red zone, who do you think's better? Red zone is definitely better than Jerick McKinnon. But I like
there's
the
Spider-Man memes. They like each other too.
10-time multiplier. There's some real value
There is.
in a Jerick McKinnon still, because with the 10-time multiplier, that makes it where these games, I don't think there's long-term value for Jerick McKinnon. I really don't. I just think, he's going to be as what he is on this offense. His contract can't be that big.
But there's like day trading opportunities with Jerick McKinnon.
With a 10-time multiplier, there is significant day trading opportunities with Jerick McKinnon. He's getting the ball a lot.
The Chiefs are in the playoffs. So therefore, you're going to get a run the next 3 weeks at the very least, right? And then they get the playoff. They might get the 1 seed. You'll definitely get a game.
We talk about league winners. Jerick McKinnon could be a league winner.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, here we go. Jekyll and Hyde show, right? Zach Wilson pops up on our top movers in a positive way. The Jets... They don't. They fall to the Lions. All of a sudden, the Lions, the scrappiest team in the NFL, are putting themselves in a position to win and put themselves in a position to get in the playoffs. We'll see if that happens. But Zach Wilson right here, right? Yesterday, 18 for 35 for 317, 2 touchdowns, a bad pick, couple bad throws. But when I look at Zach Wilson, I look at this game and I say to myself, if I'm a Jets fan or I'm a Jets coach, would Mike White put us in a position to do what we did yesterday? And I know they lost, but they did put himself in a position to kick a monster field goal with Greg the Leg, who's apparently, when he was a Cowboy, it's the only field goals he would make. It's the 60-yarder plus. Inside the 30, forget it, he's off. But they had a position to tie this game, despite the fact that Zach Wilson had a couple bad throws. but he turned out to be a gamer, and it's one of those things where he did though. I mean, like you can't say that Zach Wilson didn't play a good football game. You can't. Like he played.
I can.
But 317 yards don't lie, man.
I watched that game. You talked about this before, and you were talking about how everybody gets on Dak because he threw 2 picks. And when you look at the stat line, well, look at the stat line. This one, Zach Wilson did not play well. I watched that game.
That's not a good stat line to you?
I don't care about the stat line. I watched that game.
Oh, okay.
Zach Wilson got away. Zach Wilson got away with murder several times in that game. There was some. You said he made some bad throws. No, they were dropped picks. They were bad throws. So if those turn into picks, there's 3 turnovers in that game. You know, I'm not sold on Zach Wilson. The Lions' pass defense has been arguably the worst in football. I say that about 10 teams because it seems like they jockey for the worst pass defense in football.
Right.
You know, the Texans. There's a bunch of teams that just don't stop the pass. The Lions are one of them. Now, we talked about would Mike White put them in a position to do the same thing? Well, if you look at what Mike White did, he did exactly that. He put them in a position to lose the game late.
Okay, but
several times.
I'm just gonna just stat of the day because wins are everything. Zach's 5-3 as a starter. Mike White's 1-2. Zach Wilson could win games. The defense, yeah. If you want to carry yourself to the defense, right? If you want to start talking about defense helping you win that game, guess what? There's an offense and a defense. Everybody knows that, right? But Zach Wilson's throws yesterday, some of them to put him in that position. By the way. The Jets fans went absolutely bat-it nuts for the Zach Wilson throw towards the end of that game to put him in the position to win or tie, right?
I'm just looking up Zach's numbers real quick.
Zach. I just think that Zach Wilson right now, look, they have a quick turnaround. They're the Thursday nighter this week. So if Mike White wasn't cleared, is he cleared 3 days later? I don't know. So now you're coming off a loss. What does that do? This is a huge story right now. Because of Zach Wilson's play, they did lose the game. I think he played okay on the stat sheet. Yes, if you're eye testing it, saying a lot of drop pick, fine. But if you're Robert Saleh, can you actually go back to Mike White? Like, what will that do to Zach Wilson right now? Honestly, can you just go back to Mike White and say, look, man, White's healthy. He's our guy. This is the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and we're only 3 years into his tenure. Like, what are we doing? You cannot just give up on this kid. I'm sorry. You can't.
So, all right, because he's 2 years into his tenure, if
Eli didn't do jack squat until year 3.
Fair. Which means to me that even if you bench him, I'm so tired of hearing, like,
but
you gave up.
It's what you're benching him for.
Well, you're
benching him for an undrafted practice squad guy.
You're not benching him for an undrafted practice squad guy. You're benching him because I just looked up his numbers in the 6 games prior to his benching. Bro, they're not good. Not even close. So it's like you're benching him for that. You're benching him for for not taking accountability, and then probably something else that also happened that we don't know about.
Rumors,
right?
Fine.
There's probably that. And I'm not sitting here saying Mike White, or I'm saying like, oh, Zach Wilson's not going to start. I'm saying if they do bench Zach Wilson again, give me a break on what's it going to do to the kid. If you have to treat the player that way, right? Given the fact that he put himself in the position that he's in right now, nobody else did that. That's him. We're talking about an adult. At the end of the day, I know he looks like he's 10. He's still an adult. This is the NFL. Right? If you don't play well, if you don't win football games, so you really think that if Zach Wilson got benched again, I wouldn't even call it a benching. I think he had already been benched. He started Sunday because Mike White, the starter, was injured. So it would really be...
But before all that, Zach Wilson was promoted to backup. That's another thing. Promoted.
To?
Mike White, who they're riding. They were riding that, right?
But they didn't promote him to...
Starter. I understand.
He was promoted to backup.
I'll see myself out. Staying in the AFC East for the last top mover of the day, a guy that's... Mike White. Yeah, he's the biggest mover. Ramondre Stevenson. We've talked about him at length over the last, 12 weeks of this show, that Stevenson was the guy in New England to run the rock. We call him Ram over here at Chop Studios. 19 carries, 172 yards. He's almost busted out 200-yard performance. 2 catches for negative yards, so he's clearly not a backfield threat out of the backfield. This dude, and like I said, the game, we talked about it before, maybe, you'll never, ever, ever see anything like this ever again. He might have been the original culprit of that bad play.
The catalyst
of that bad play. But now when you look at Stevenson with the Patriots still on the brink of a berth / right there, like right behind, a half game out, whatever it is he still a long-term play right now? You can also get him at 3-time multiplier. Stevenson's been that dude for a long time now this season.
Yeah, Stevenson's that dude. He's had a tough month. The last couple games he's been injured. He's been in and out of the lineup a little bit, and the carries kind of dwindled. He had one game where he did have a lot of catches. And I know you said like, oh, he's not. He's been amazing out of the backfield this season catching the football.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a great game this past week, but that's fine because 140 yards, 170 yards,
179,
180 yards rushing and a touchdown. Look, the Raiders defense.
He's got 914 on the year. So he's about to be a 1,000-yard rusher in a backfield where I think going in, he was going to be a supplemental guy, if you think about it, because a lot of people were in on Damian Harris.
Anticipated that. Maybe I didn't. I thought he was going to be the starter, but I didn't know that it was going to happen as fast. Bro, I mean, don't act like we didn't talk like that.
We did.
There's no way that I see Damian Harris.
They got 15 running backs on this roster, by the way.
And Ramondre's by far
Harris
the best
one.
Yeah, it was a nice bounce back game. I think that this guy is a stud, and he's going to be a stud for the next couple years. The Patriots obviously like him. He's been the only back that I've seen in the last decade, maybe, that actually managed to be the true and only number one running back on the Patriots.
And that doesn't come easily.
They've always had compliments. Even when they've had what I thought was a star running back or a potential star, they still James White, still Kevin Falk. All through the years, it's been the Bill Belichick way.
Can it be that the last star bell cow running back for the New England Patriots dates back to like Curtis Martin? Like back in the 90s, because after that, even when Tom Brady was winning all these Super Bowls, he wasn't a bell cow. He was at the back end of his career.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They've been a committee team forever.
What they've done throughout most of the seasons is they've been a committee, and then
ride the hot hand.
And then round playoff time, it'll be LeGarrette Blount would be their clear.
LeGarrette Blount, another one.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Look, it's credit to Belichick and his running back attack because it's been pretty damn good the entire time he's been there. But anyway, those are the top movers for week number 15. We conclude it tonight in Lambeau Field. Hopefully it's the frozen tundra, to be honest with you, because I need a lot of fantasy stuff to happen. But it is the Green Bay Packers hosting none other than starting quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, Baker Mayfield. Look, I know that there's a thing that didn't happen for the Packers as far as like playoffs and stuff. And I know it's even if you remotely it's like whisper the word playoffs around the Packers, you're like, what are you talking about? But like, if you really think about it and you really look at it, there was a path, right?
There was a much easier
There was a roadmap
if
this.
If bum-ass Zach Wilson could have gotten it done.
That's where this whole thing comes from. Anger and hate.
It's not real because, look, the Packers got to win 4. If they win 4 in a row right now, they will put themselves in a very good spot.
Will they finish 9-8?
Yeah.
So 9-8, you think it's in the playoffs?
I don't think so. Because I think 9-8. I think 9-8 right now. 9-8, and the Lions at 9-8, they get in. And
you sure?
I'm not. But
you play them in the last week of the year.
Yeah, but they beat us. So if we beat them, we'll have split. But,
NFC record goes next.
But they beat the Giants. They beat the
common opponents is until like the third tiebreaker.
They beat the Giants.
It's not.
It's the first
NFC record.
NFC record. They beat the Giants.
Okay.
They beat the Vikings once. We have not, right? They beat the Commanders. We have not. So I feel like they have the upper hand there.
Let's see. The NFC record, conference record out of the Green Bay Packers is 4-5, and the conference record out of the Lions is 5-4. So if they beat them head to head, and what's on the record? The rest of the Packers schedule. You got this. You got
Miami, Minnesota.
And the Lions. So you have a chance to, at the very best, including tonight, 5, 6, 7 wins in the NFC. The Lions are at 5. If they lose to you in the final, they have, I believe, one AFC opponent, and then I believe it's the Steelers, and they have the Carolina game. There's still a path, so that's why this game is interesting. Anyway, this game is interesting because it's also the first start.
We need Seattle to lose. But they're
going about Seattle.
They're gonna.
I would love to see Green Bay. I honestly would love to see Green Bay sneak in as the 7. Not because Dallas will never touch them, and not until the NFC title game, which would be in Dallas, which sucks because Aaron Rodgers it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is this game is interesting because
if we could get to that point, it would be a lot of crazy things that have to happen. We're fine.
Have you seen this NFL season? crazy things have happened.
Yeah.
You know what's not going to happen? Baker Mayfield succeeding in LA tonight in Lambeau Field. I'm putting that energy into the air because I don't need it to happen. But Baker Mayfield, look, he comes in there, learns the playbook in 8 seconds, right? Does enough, gets the job done, wins. Everybody, we're talking about him with viral videos left and right with Baker Mayfield show in LA. Now you're going to Lambeau, right? It's going to be 20 degrees. This isn't your controlled environment, right? This is Lambeau Field, and this is the Packers who think that at the end of the day, if they keep winning, they could be in the playoffs. This is a recipe for absolute disaster. I'll have egg on my face this morning if somehow Baker Mayfield goes off on the Packers defense. But if there's one thing to say about the Packers defense is that it has players. It has guys that are on this team that can make plays. And if Baker's off by that fraction, I see a big night at Jair. I see a big night getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, I think the pass rush is going to be the main thing here in this game. The Rams can't protect.
Right.
But I also like Kyron Williams a little bit as a
your run defense kind of stinks.
A little play. The Packers have the worst. They're the 32nd ranked team in adjusted line yards. Not a good spot to be in in any given game. Now the Rams, they don't have much to offer in the way of offense whatsoever.
No.
You know, even in the game where Baker, everyone wants to anoint Baker as the next coming. They had 3 points with 58 minutes of football played. So I'm not buying in on Baker. And there's really not much to be excited about defensively for Green Bay, so it's really more so that the Rams stink. I don't buy in on any of the Rams except Kyron Williams in this game. The Packers offense, on the other hand, it's going to be curious to see what Jalen Ramsey does. He doesn't follow people around. I would imagine they're going to keep Watson away from him as much as possible.
Sure, why not?
Get him involved. And I don't know. I say it's going to be the running game that does it for the Packers.
So are you in on a Dillon or a Jones?
I'm in on both, baby.
I know you are.
I'm in on both.
Listen,
this is fantasy talk, by the way.
well, and this is the Mojo Market too.
It is
because we just spoke about it today that McKinnon is a great day player. Maybe Aaron Jones is too tonight because you know damn well he's been around the block, so he's got some.
I really like
value.
AJ Dillon late in the season though. So if I was going to play on one, it would be AJ Dillon.
Again, somebody give me the weather in Green Bay right now. I need to know if it's going to snow or anything like that because that will affect the play of both sides of the ball. But if anybody gets used to it, it ain't going to be those California boys. I tell you that right now. It's not. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers is at home and doing his thing in the snow.
Well,
weather?
It's 11 degrees.
11 degrees. 11.
And right now it is snowing.
It's snowing. So what about tonight?
Tonight it will be.
Give me like a single digit.
It'll be 10 p.m. There's a 30% chance of precip.
All right. Precipitation.
And it will be snow if it's precip.
That's usually how it works in Green Bay. So all you people from Sheboygan who make
Just
the travel.
so we're clear, the Packers don't play good in the cold.
Just so we're clear, they're going to play good in the cold tonight. Anyway, that'll do it. And we'll put a bow on Week 15 tomorrow. But what you can do is you can follow Mojo right now. We have a bunch of social media accounts. You can follow us on each and every one of them at MOJO. That's at Mojo on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Join the Discord, guys. This is a conversation to be had every single day. Share your portfolios over there. Compare your players. Take advice. I've done that, and I've actually made some money on people who are like, hey, by the way, go here, go long, 10-time multiplier. I'm like, are you sure? And I did it anyway. I made some money. So that's a really nice thing, especially right now. It's the holidays, right? It's the Christmas time and all this stuff. Happy Hanukkah to all I can say this, fellow Shebrews and Hebrews, because those are it's my stepmom, so it's my family. So happy Hanukkah, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll be back tomorrow morning to put a bow on Week 15 and get you set for week number 16. Unbelievable. This season is almost over, and I'm getting depressed about it. For Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, A5 Behind the Glass, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. We'll see you guys in the morning. Go Pack, go!